What will I say to that old man? What could ever make up for the loss of my dearest friend, my sweet Papa? And like all other Papas in Hosoa, Papa who sat with his daughter at night and counted stars, who wondered with me if stalks of grass lived in fear of the day they'd be trampled upon, who reminded me to never forget what it felt like to be a child when I grow up, never forget how it felt to be small and in need of protection. Much of the suffering in the world was because of those who had forgotten that they too were once children. Hey guys, welcome back to another rambling book review. It's Alyssa, and I really want to talk to you guys very briefly and discombobulatedly about How Beautiful We Were by Imbolo Mbue. I totally said that wrong. This book has not gotten enough discussion, in my humble opinion, and I think it needs a video talking about it out there in the Booktube space. I'm sure there are others, but this is mine. I just think more people need to talk about this, and I would encourage you guys to pick it up. So what is How Beautiful We Were? This follows the people in this fictional town in Africa. It starts in the 1980s. The town is basically been taken over by the American oil company that has come in and is put in pipelines, is drilling on their lands, is destroying their lands, is destroying their culture, is destroying their country, is killing the children, is spreading disease, and is in cahoots with the government. So there's very little agency that the people in this town even have over their own lives, over their town, over their waterways, over anything, because the American oil companies are in such close cahoots with the government. So it's very corrupt. The story spans about 20 years, and you follow the people in this town and you follow the progression of things they go through and the ways that they try to fight for themselves and to fight this oil company, and just how sort of futile it all is. And this book is just it is so beautifully written, and it does such a interesting job of looking at colonialism, and I would like to say corporate colonialism, the modern colonialism of our time. It does such a great job at looking at it from all the different points of views of the people in this village. Every chapter is a different person's point of view, and you get different perspectives on everything, from elders to young people, to the one daughter who gets to get out of the village, to go to schools, to go to America to get even more school, to meet other people fighting for revolution, change, climate change, radicalism, etc., etc., and her taking those lessons and bringing them back to her village, watching these people try to work within the legal system and how that fails them because of the power of these American oil companies and the way they're so entrenched in the government themselves. The author looks at activism and false activism. When the world finds out what the oil company has done to this town, there is this initial uprising and uproar and in the Western world, and you have people really talking about and wanting to change and making a big deal out of how horrible it is that this oil company is doing this to this village. But then, like happens so often, that activism gains over time, and something new happens that all these people that were fighting for this one cause get swept up in another cause, the new cause, the cause du jour, if you will. It's really sad looking at how the people that leaves behind, because people in this town have very little agency, as I said, over themselves, and they really do need outside help. And that assistance could occur, that assistance could happen. There could be pressure from the Western world on these oil companies. This is really annoying me that my dogs will not shut up now.
One eternity later.
Perhaps they're settled now. Let's try to finish this. So it's really tragic watching that point in the story where the West, who really has sort of power, the only people who potentially have any power to stop this American oil company from just decimating this country and town, it's distracted by the new shiny activism thing and leaves them to deal with it themselves. The town attempts to do things through legal channels, like I said. That doesn't go very well. And then when you've pushed a peoples and you've pushed the peoples and you've hurt the people and you've destroyed their land and you've destroyed their culture and country and broken up families and really decimated a place and its people. What is the next step? If they have no agency to change within the legal structure that you give them, what is their next step? And that is often something more violent and revolutionary. And you watch this progression. And the author also ruminates on this idea of revolution and if it really changes or if it just kind of crumbles back down into corruption and greed like it did before, just under a new regime. There's a lot of reflection there on power and things of that nature that I really enjoyed. I picked up this book because I got an ALC of it from Libro when it came out. It sounded interesting, but then truthfully, I forgot about it. And then I found the hardback at my library book barn randomly one Saturday when all of the Amazon booksellers and used booksellers are there, and it's really chaotic on bookseller day because like you gotta like fight the booksellers for all the good books. And I swear at my book barn they like save really good books for those days. And I got some really good things that day, but it was like supermarket sweeps. Like I just was grabbing things. And this is one of the things I grabbed because I was like, I recognize that cover. I feel like I want to read this. So I grabbed it. And then again, I unfortunately forgot about it. Then we were in our Booker Book Club discussion for Glory. And one of the book club members mentioned this book and was like, Glory really reminded them a lot of how beautiful we were. And because I struggled so much with Glory, he suggested that I try this because he thought I might like this book more. And I think that he was correct. This is a lot more my speed than Glory. They're different, but they're similar in certain things that they discuss and look at, especially like the American pieces of colonialism in like modern day Africa. The ways that revolutions are often the last resort or the thing that you push people to do, but then also do they affect the change that the revolutionaries initially were attempting to achieve? There's a lot of question marks around revolutions and change of power and all of that. Nobody was talking about this book. So I had no idea for the whole time that I have owned some version of this story that this was the book that it was, which is why I wanted to make this rambling review. And I hope that this makes some sense. I will try to cobble this together in editing. I know I keep like leaving to go take care of the dogs. I feel like if you like environmental lit, if you like political lit, if you like general sort of multi-generational stories, I think this is a book that you would really enjoy. The writing is phenomenal. There are some really just brilliant sound bites, like the quote I read in the beginning. There's a few more that I flagged in the audiobook while I was like driving and like hitting the thing and just like because you have to tap in some sort of note. You can't just like flag it. I was like blah blah blah. Like I would just like hit something on the screen like over on the side, like while I was driving and like hit yes so that it would save. So I have to go back through those for some more really beautiful quotes. But it's definitely a book that not a lot of people are talking about, and definitely a book that I feel like more people do need to talk about. And I really encourage you to pick this up, see if your library has a copy. I think that this is going to be enjoyed by a lot of people. I have heard through the grapevine that it may be the way that this was marketed. It was marketed slightly differently than it actually is, and it may have been come as a bit of a surprise to people that it was actually a sort of literary fiction. Oh, now she found a squeaky toy. We're going to wrap this up. I encourage you to read it. I thought it was beautiful. It didn't make my 31 favorites simply because I only left myself 2 slots really for the end of December. And so I had to really fight it out and figure out what 2 I wanted to put in there. There are a few more honorable mentions I could have had for the year. Definitely worth the read. I highly recommend. If you've enjoyed, please consider subscribing. If you would like, please join the Patreon. We do a little book club over there, and we discuss a book every month on Discord. And if the Patreon gets a little bit bigger, we might even do a Zoom or something to discuss it. But for now, we're just discussing on Discord while the group is small and the community is growing. Otherwise, I will see you guys in my next video, whatever it may be. I'm going to go tend to the dogs. See you later. Bye.
So just sit with me, talking to the night until the morning, building chemistry. I don't think I ever wanna go come closer next to me. another way to say